devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand. Call
What's up? What's up? Okay, so it is Thursday. Tomorrow I won't be able to go live because I'm very busy tomorrow. I wanted to go live tomorrow to as a pre-match for the Milan game, but unfortunately I won't be able to do that. So I thought let's just do a live today, and people will watch it later too. And kind of let's go over the Serie A. Let's see what's going on in the Serie A. I think right now the Serie A is actually pretty awesome. The league, it's really cool, really competitive. All the teams are really close to each other. The stories that are developing, the storylines are developing in this year's competition are very exciting. And I think this year it's a great tournament. Last year it was the Napoli show. But this year, it's definitely more balanced and more entertaining, I would say. This year, the Serie A is more entertaining than last year. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Let's see what's happening right now. We're game day 15 coming up. The table looks like this. Inter with 35 points. The stat that still sets them apart is this one here, 7 goals conceded. So best defense and best offense. Inter definitely best team right now in this current moment. I don't know how long that will last, but I think only time will tell. Juventus also with a very good defensive record. I think these two stats right here, goals conceded, tell us the story of what is going to happen this year. Now, it's a little bit early for that, but right now one can assume to assess that these two teams are going to be the teams that are going to be pushing because they have the best defense. But a lot is going to depend on what happens in the third quarter and the fourth quarter because things can change. I remember when Milan won the Scudetto, Napoli had the best defense that year for a big period of the season. Then in the last 10 games, we did not concede any goals. And that's how we ended with a team that conceded the least amount of goals. With Napoli, the year we won, we conceded only 31 goals that year. But at this point of the season, the year where we won the league, we had conceded a lot of goals, and the difference between us and Napoli was substantial that year. So basically, that tells us that even though these stats are indicative of what's going on right now, and they're showing that there's a separation between these two teams and the other teams, it doesn't mean that this is going to be what is going to be reflected at the end of the season if we look at prior seasons. Milan third with 15 goals conceded. Milan is pretty much in the pack with these teams right here. Milan, Roma, Napoli as far as goals conceded. Fiorentina, Bologna has conceded less goals than us. Monza has conceded less goals than us. So, of course, I think a big one is the 5-goal thriller in Manila that Inter did on us. That's a big one. Now, we have scored 24 goals. You know, we're in this club right here between 2 and 6. Yeah, more or less that club right here. Inter, they are far ahead of everybody else. Roma has scored a lot of goals. Roma is the second team that scored the most goals. Watch out for Roma, guys, because Roma has if Roma gets the results in these upcoming games, that will create a separation in the top 4. So Roma has big task right now if they want to stay in this vicinity of the table. They have Fiorentina coming up. They have Juventus coming up. They have some big games coming up. Okay, so this is really what we care about. What's happening here? Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. Salernitana, Cagliari, Hellas Verona. Okay, whatever. Get relegated. You guys are just... Udinese, Udinese should get relegated. Like, we don't need Udinese. Udinese is ruining Italian football. Udinese is another club like Milan that exploits the decreto crescita like nothing else. A team that has zero ambitions. Like, what is the purpose of Udinese? Udinese makes money. They never lose. I think they never lose money. So it's like a business that operates. It's you know, I think it's pretty much what Jerry wants to do with Milan. If Milan can become like Udinese, I think Jerry will be very happy. Sassuolo, Genoa having a good season. I think we knew that Genoa this year was going to have a good season. The roster is too good for it to be in the bottom 3. So yeah, Monza is continuing their same trajectory as last year. Torino doing really well, and Bologna the big surprise, because usually at this point of the season, the mid-table teams are usually not so high on the table. Usually already by this time around the season, the mid-table teams are below. And here you have the Atalantas, you have the Lazios, you have the Romas, etc., etc. But Bologna, Thiago Motta and Bologna excelling, overachieving. And look at that. And why are they 7th? Because they have only conceded 11 goals. They have scored 16 goals, which is really poor. They've only scored 16 goals. That's very poor. But they have conceded 11 goals. That's why they're 7. That's why defense is the most important thing. Not conceding goals is almost more important than scoring goals. The margins are tiny. If Bologna had 10 more goals, they would be up here. They'd be third, they'd be second, they'd be third. So if Bologna scored more goals with the amount of goals they're conceding, they'd be in the top 3. Isn't that crazy, guys? Isn't that absolutely insane? Okay, let's go to the players. Let's see what's going on with the players. Statistics. Let's go. All right, so team with the most ball possession. Oh, there has been movement, guys. Look at this. There has been movement. So Napoli stays number 1. Team with the best ball possession. Monza now is at number 2. Fiorentina number 3. We were a number 2 a few weeks ago. Now we're down to number 4. So we have lost because we were at 32-80 something last time we were number 2. We were even better than this, but we have gone down. Interesting. Yeah. Look at this, guys. Roma goals and assists. That Dybala Lukaku duo is going to pay dividends for sure. For sure it is. Napoli is a team that has shot the most on goal, Inter second. Juventus 5th. That is crazy, guys. This is why football is so insane. Look at this. Juventus, the way they play football, is the 5th team that has taken 15 team. Sorry, it's the 5th team in Serie A that has taken the most shots. That style of football is, and that's something that I learned this year. That the stat that maybe matters the most in football, in game, is not possession, it is not precision, it is shots on goal. Shots on goal seems to be the stat that is the most important. So it really doesn't matter how you interpret your football. You can interpret your football like Guardiola, or you can interpret your football like Allegri. As long as the shots on goal are at a high number, you are playing to win. You have a chance to win. And I thought that was a lesson that I learned this year, especially looking at that PSG Newcastle game. And then I'm seeing it with Juventus. I see Juventus play this football where they just leave the ball to the opponents. But when you look at the end of the game, you look at the shots on goal. Juve has a high number of shots on goal, shots on target. So it's a very interesting thing, very interesting stat. Okay, whatever. We don't care about these stats. Let's look at the players. Now this one we care about. Wow, look at that. Oliver Giroud with 7 goals is number 2 on the table of players with the most goals. That's good. I like that. It's good to see Oliver Giroud up there. Martinez 13, double digits already, guys. Double digits already. So Martinez can, if Martinez maintains this rhythm, he can get close to 30 goals this season if he keeps on going, just in Serie A, if he keeps on with this rhythm. Close to 30 goals. Giroud, 7 goals. Berardi, the player that is not good enough to play for Milan, guys. That player that is not good enough to play for Milan. 7 goals. Osimhen, 6. Nico Gonzalez, 6. Very interesting. And look, the player with the most assists is Marcus Thuram, who, by the way, guys, is having a phenomenal season, guys. I spoke a lot of shit about Marcus Thuram this summer. Seeing the way he plays and seeing how he sacrifices himself for the team, you just have to say, okay, bruh, you're a professional. You're doing the right thing, and he's bringing a lot of quality. So, hats off to Marcus Thuram. Paulo Dybala, Every time I see Dybala, he looks great. Di Marco, of course, assists. None of our guys here. Theo Hernandez should be here. Pulisic should be here. Chukwueze should be here. These guys are nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Most penalties, Çalhanoğlu with 5, Giroud with 3, Berardi with 3, Immobile with 3, Dybala with 2. Own goals, Viña has 2 own goals. Okay. Don't really care about this. Don't really care. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, actually, let's look at this one here. Lost balls. So how many times you lose the ball? Soler, number 1. Colombo, number 2. Xerxes, number 3. Zapata, number 4. Cancelliere, number 5. Player that has played the most minutes so far in Serie A is Cristante. It's crazy. He's played every game. Yeah, Mourinho had some really good words on Cristante a few days ago. He said that Cristante is a professional. He always serious. He on the field. He fights for every ball. You know, he sacrifices for everybody. So it looks like Cristante is developing really good mentality. He needs to work on his quality, but the mental aspect is there for sure. All right, let's go to the probable formations. Let's get to the Serie A, the games. Juve Napoli, guys. We are starting off tomorrow with Juve Napoli. And what a game. What a great game. Serie A is so amazing this year. Like, how can you not love Serie A this year? Tomorrow, the Juventus-Napoli game has so much meaning. It has so much meaning. If Juventus wins, they go first and they keep on putting pressure on Inter, and Napoli will stay there in that limbo, in that Europa League limbo. And they must be careful because Fiorentina and Roma are playing. So if Napoli loses, no matter who wins here between Roma and Fiorentina, Napoli will be surpassed. Napoli can go even lower down to 6th place tomorrow. If Fiorentina wins, guys, if Bologna wins tomorrow and Fiorentina win, not this game day, Napoli will go all the way down to 8th place, guys. So this game is super important. Napoli can go all the way down to 8th place if Napoli don't get the result. Very, very crazy. This is why I'm saying that the league this year is awesome, because every game now really starting to mean something. If Napoli wins, things more or less stay the same. It'll put pressure on Roma, Fiorentina, Bologna. If you want to consider Bologna an insider, I think Bologna is an outsider. It'll put a little bit of pressure on Milan, but not so much. Milan is in a comfortable position there at 29 points with a cushion above and a cushion below. So, incredible, guys. Serie A is incredible this year. I love the Serie A this year. Anyway, let's look at the formations. It looks like Juventus is going to have one of their best formations. It's their best midfield: Cambiaso, McKennie, Locatelli, Rabiot, Kostic. And they also have Miretti coming in, and they have Caviglia, and they have all these very interesting players coming in. So it's a pretty strong formation. Their attack is a killer attack. Chiesa, Vlahovic, especially Chiesa. Chiesa right now is just put so much pressure on his opponents. Like when you play against Chiesa, you're panicking. You're always panicking. And he's not even at 100%. He's somewhere like 70%. So Chiesa is starting to come back and bring his ability. Once he gets to 100%, it's going to be really difficult to play against Juve. Vlahovic is starting to get some goals, a little bit more confidence. The defense has been really good, second best defense in Italy. So they're in Turin, home advantage. Juventus has a strong team. I know they have a bunch of injuries, though. I know they have a bunch of injuries. Actually, okay, they don't. They just have Wea out in Deschilio. So defensively, they're good. Defensively, they're good because they have the three main defenders on the bench. Rugani, who's having a really good season. Alexandro, he's got qualities. Then the midfield, Miretti, Ealing, Caviglia, Yildiz, all these youngsters. Mancini, guys, the striker Mancini, the kid that we wanted to buy a long time ago. He's in the first team. Keane, Hulsen, look at this. It's all freaking Primavera players, and they're putting pressure on Inter. I love how Juventus is building their players from their own backyard, and they're achieving great results with their own players. I think this is a big lesson for a lot of teams that it can be done. It can be done. Anyway, so Juventus is in a pretty good shape to win this game. They have a strong formation. They don't have many injuries. They're at home. They're pretty healthy. So Juventus probably the favorites at this point. If we look at Napoli, Napoli has a very strong formation. They're missing both their fullbacks on this side. So Mazzarri has been playing this style similar to what we do, where we have essentially three at the back. Calabria maybe a little bit more conservative, and Theo Hernandez goes all the way up. What he does, Mazzarri, is pretty much the opposite. Di Lorenzo goes all the way up. Nathan going to stay a little bit lower. There was talks of Mazzarri saying that Vicha Verasquilla will have a different position in this game. He's not going to be playing wide. He's going to be playing more central. I'm very curious to see what that means and what how that is going to transpire. But Napoli also has a really good squad. Napoli has a great squad. Very technical. Very technical. The balance is perfect here. Like, it's a perfect machine right there. So the issue with Napoli, it's more of the structure. It's a mess. So the mind is not there. The mind is not healthy with Napoli. A lot of confusion, changes in coaches, a lot of pressure. They've lost their basically one of their best tenants, which was that psychological awareness and confidence they had. So Napoli, I wouldn't say Napoli's in a great position, honestly, psychologically, but they have the quality to beat any team. Any team. The question is, how are we going to deal with Chiesa and Vlahovic? Most likely, how are they going to deal with Chiesa? I think Napoli defensively, they might have a little bit of trouble with Chiesa, Kostic, Cambiasso, and these guys, because defensively they're going to leave spaces. Napoli's going to come forward. They're going to come forward, and they're going to try and beat Juve with quality. That's how they play. But Juve this year seems to be stronger than that. Juve this year seems to be able to suffer on every play, be compact. I'm going to say Juventus is the favorites to win this game. I'm going to give it to Juve. I think Juve is going to win this game. I'm going to say 2-1 for Juve. And I think Napoli is going to be a big blow for Napoli. I think Napoli, they're going to go down to 8th place or 6th place or 7th place by game day 15. I think De Laurentiis messed up this summer. He had a beautiful, perfect machine. He fucked it up. He threw it all away. He ruined what he had. So, yeah. But again, quality. Quality is a big factor. So it's going to be a very awesome way to open up the game day 15 weekend. Friday, that is going to be tomorrow. This game is going to be tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It's going to be very interesting. Okay, let's go to Verona Lazio. Okay, there's not much to say here. One of the good things I like about this is that Rovella is starting to get that spot in the middle of midfield. So Cataldi has taken a step back, and Rovella is taking that place. I think Rovella is a very good resource for the national team in the future. He's still very young, and this is a really good platform for him to improve. But Lazio is a pretty good team. Lazio is only 4 points away from top 4. So I don't think Lazio is out of this yet. They can still fight for top 4. They're at 20 points. Top 4 is 24. If Napoli lose and they win, they go to 23, right? Of course, it depends on what Fiorentina does and Roma does. Roma, Fiorentina are playing against each other. Oh, I can't fucking wait. I can't wait. We'll leave Milan, Atalanta for last. So I'm going to give advantage here to Lazio. I think Lazio will not fuck this one up. They don't have many problems with injuries. Only 3 players. It looks like they're pretty strong bench for what they can offer. Pedro, Castellanos, Basic, Kamada, Cataldi, Pellegrini, Ruggeri, Hizai. Like for the level that they are, that's a good, yeah. And Verona is a good team, but if Lazio loses this game, big trouble for Lazio. Big trouble for Lazio. This is a must-win for Lazio. So I'm going to give it to Lazio. 3-1 Lazio. Inter Udinese. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Incredible. Fucking incredible. So, situation with Inter. Inter has obviously shown that they're the best team this year. Team with the best mentality, best roster, best management, best everything. So they are in a perfect position to win any game. They are the best of the group. Now, defensively, I know they do have some issues because in defense, they're playing with Darmian Acerbi and Carlos Augusto. And so Pavard is out, Bastoni is out, De Vrij is out, and Dumfries is out. So basically, they have 4 defenders that could easily be in the starting 11, all out. So they really only have Darmian Acerbi, Carlos Augusto. They do have Bisek, though. They do have Bisek that they can still use. Carlos Augusto is a player that usually plays where Di Marco is, but Carlos Augusto also played this position against Napoli. He did very well. So he seems to be quite a versatile player, Carlos Augusto, and he brings quality to these areas. So obviously this game is going to be one of those games that Inter is going to be tested because Udinese is a team that really sucks. It's a team that should not exist. Udinese should not be in the Serie A. Udinese should be a Serie B team. They're on the verge of going to Serie B. Udinese is a team that has absolutely no sense. Like, why does Udinese exist? What is their purpose? I don't know what their purpose is. I just don't get it. But they're a team that are very uncomfortable to play against, especially for the big teams for some reason. I have no clue why. We struggle with them a lot for some reason. And some of the Inter fans are asking themselves, okay, Inzaghi, you're doing big games against the big teams. You've won all the direct games. You won against Napoli, you won against Juve, you won against Milan, you won against Roma. You're winning all the big games, but then you lose points against Sassuolo and you lose points against Bologna, right? So what's going on with the mid-table teams? And this is a test for Inter to see whether or not they have the mid-table team puzzle down too. I think they don't. I'm going to say 1-1 Inter Udinese. 1-1 Inter Udinese. It's going to be a tie. I'm going to say that Udinese is going to pose problems for them because Udinese is going to be really uncomfortable to play against. And Udinese is going to snatch a point from Inter. And then Udinese next week is going to lose 5-0 against Cagliari. I seriously don't understand the purpose of Udinese. But if Inter does win against Udinese, then we might be... If Inter just keeps on winning every game, then it's going to be like last year. Then it's going to be like Napoli was. When you have the front runner that just keeps on winning and winning and winning, The guys chasing in the back just get fatigued. It's a fatigue. It's like, okay, because you have no choice. You have only one result. You have to win. You have to win. But winning is very difficult. It's very difficult to do that. So if Inter wins this game, fatigue might set in. Milan might start to get some fatigue. Juventus might start to get some fatigue. Roma, Napoli, etc. All these teams might start to get some fatigue. So if Inter wins this game, it's going to be the beginning of that aspect, that psychological aspect in other teams. Like, okay, it's going to get tiring to chase them, essentially. But yeah, so they can easily win this game. If they don't win, they stay at 35. If Juventus wins, Juventus goes to 36, so they'll be second and Juventus stays first. But yeah, if they win, then the other teams are going to start to feel the fatigue of chasing. And that's what happened with Napoli. Napoli was winning every single game. The teams behind just gave up. They gave up early in the season. Like, they just like, okay, there's no way we can keep up with this. And they just give up. So Inter might be able to do something like that if they just keep on winning and winning. Okay, guys, Frosinone Torino, I do not give two fucks about this game. If Torino wins, they go to 22. So they go in this region here, around 8th, 9th. Frosinone, I don't give a fuck about Frosinone. I really don't care about these mid-table teams, honestly. I really don't care. Anyway, players that are interesting from these mid-table teams. So from the Italian national team, you have Buongiorno, that Milan was linked to him a little bit. Milinkovic Savic, interesting goalkeeper. Of course, Zapata, ex-Atalanta player. Bellanova, U21. Interesting resource for the national team. Ricci, coming off of the U21, another interesting resource for the national team. Tamese right now. On this other side, you have Solé, who is doing well. Juventus wants to see whatever. Okoli, good defender, good resource for the Italian national team. But other than that, I don't care, whatever. This is the mid-table war. I am not interested in the mid-table war. Let's go to Monza Genoa. Monza Genoa, also mid-table war, but a little bit more interesting, I would say. A little bit more interesting. By the way, Frosinone Torino, tie, 1-1. Monza Genoa, very interesting game to me because Monza is a team that has the ability to eventually put pressure to the teams that are looking for European spots. They do have the management, the ownership to do that. They do have a structure. And as second year in Serie A, doing really well. And they have a really good roster too. Genoa also, they bought a roster. They are building a roster, which if they keep on building on, can also be a team that can put pressure on the teams that are looking for European spots. So this mid-table clash here is a little bit more interesting than Frosinone Torino. I think because these teams, I think, are very interesting this year. Colpani, interesting player for the national team. He's getting a lot of attention. Colombo, interesting player for us. We want him to do well. Let's see if he can come back. Pessina, interesting resource for the national team. Di Gregorio, the goalkeeper, is getting some good press. We're talking really well about him. Then who else in this team? I think that's more or less it. On this other side, Retegui, of course, very interesting resource for the national team. Messias. So I think we're finally going to see the Retegui Messias duo. That's going to be interesting. And yeah, I think Genoa is building a decent team. So yeah, it's going to be a decent game, I think. I say another tie. 2-2. 2-2. 2-2. I don't think there's going to be much movement in the mid-table region. I don't think there's going to be much movement in the mid-table region. Salernitana, Bologna. Salernitana obviously is going to be relegated. They do have some interesting players that we can look at. Pirola being one of them. Pirola, very interesting. He's doing really well in the Italian U20s and U21. He was part of the team that made it to the U20 World Cup final in Argentina with the U20. Dia, of course, very interesting player. Very interesting player. So maybe these are players that we can look at. On this side, Bologna, the big surprise this year, Bologna, big surprise. They conceded only 11 goals. Who are these defenders? They are playing a 4-2-3-1, so they are playing a pretty offensive formation. Look, Salamaker's on the left. Our boy Salamaker. Xerxes, guys, seems to be a very interesting player. Maybe Milan can look at him, right? Xerxes Ndoye is also looking to have a good season. Ferguson, the Scottish player, also. So interesting. I definitely did not assess Bologna correctly in the beginning of the season. I thought Bologna was going to completely melt. But Thiago Motta instead is showing that he's a very good coach and that he has the ability to put together a very good group and get results. So good for him. Speaking of summer predictions, so by the way, Salernitana Bologna, I'm going to say Bologna wins that game 2-0. Roma Fiorentina. Wow, guys, this is another great clash. It's another great clash. The Juventus Napoli clash is amazing because look at what it means for the table. Roma Fiorentina. This one here is so fucking awesome for the table. And of course, you have the Atalanta. You have the Atalanta Milan, which is also important for the table. But guys, look at Bologna. Bologna is playing against a fairly easy squad. If Bologna wins, Bologna can enter the top 4. If Napoli loses, Fiorentina and Roma tie, Bologna is going to get in the top 4, maybe on goal difference, but if not top 4, 5th. Interesting. So Bologna, big opportunity for Bologna to get in the mix. That's crazy. Crazy, insane. But look at this Roma-Fiorentina game, guys. This Roma-Fiorentina game here is huge because if Fiorentina wins and Napoli loses, Fiorentina goes inside the top 4. They go there top 4 with 1 point above Roma and 1 point above Napoli. Maybe and maybe even 1 point above Bologna if Bologna wins. So huge game for Fiorentina. If Roma wins, Napoli loses, then we're going to start to have a top 4 group. So big opportunity for Roma because if they win, they're going to put themselves a good cushion against Fiorentina and a decent cushion against Napoli if Napoli loses. The combinations of this Serie A game day 15 are amazing, guys. Who the hell here can tell me that Serie A is not freaking incredible this season? So let's look at this these two formations. Roma playing really well right now, winning a lot of games. They kind of found themselves. They just had that moment in the beginning with all those injuries. They could not find. They just, I don't know what happened with them. Just I think the injury is really messing up. But they've been winning many games and also difficult games. Right now, they're going to be facing difficult teams. So this is going to be a difficult period for Roma. But if Roma goes through, if Roma gets out of this period in a positive manner, Roma can cement themselves in the top 4, at least for the third quarter. Because if they beat Fiorentina, that's a cushion. If they get a result against Napoli, it's a cushion. Against Juventus, it's a cushion. Watch out, because Roma has the roster to beat all of these teams. So very interesting situation for Roma, but same thing for Fiorentina, same thing for Napoli. These three teams here, Roma, Napoli, Fiorentina, I guess you want to put Bologna in the mix too. Right now, could really, really, really put themselves in a positive position in this top four area. But anyway, let's look at the formation. Roma, Indica, Lorente, Mancini. Indica, guys, has been playing every game now. It looks like he cemented himself into the starting 11, a player that we wanted. He's doing very well. Lorente is doing good. Mancini. Christensen had a really big game against Sassuolo. This midfield here, to me, guys, is top notch. How can you say this midfield is not top notch? You got Spinazzola, who's a beast. Pellegrini, Paredes, Cristante. That's balance. Christensen, very physical, definitely a little bit more physical than. Yeah, guys, like that midfield five there that's a top level midfield. That is a top level midfield. Then up top, you have Dybala, Lukaku, which is a top level duo. Roma has a really strong roster. I don't know what happened to them in the beginning of the season, but Roma is not to be underestimated. They have a really, really, really strong roster. Let's look at their bench. Selic, Karsdorp, Pizzilli, Arar, Bove, Zaleski, Sanchez, Pagano, Asmun, Asharad, Belotti. Even their bench is good. I see it very difficult for Roma not to be part of a top four conversation this year. Now, in the beginning, I predicted Roma to be the winners because I thought that Roma would have had a huge jump in mentality, but instead, that's what happened to Inter. Inter had a huge jump in mentality, and I kind of thought that was going to happen to Roma instead. But it didn't happen to Roma. But Roma has a very strong squad, and I think they're going to stay in the top four conversation until the end, I think. But we'll see. The thing is that this year, Fiorentina also has a very good squad. Obviously, if you compare Fiorentina's roster to Roma's roster, I see a big difference here. The most interesting player for me for Fiorentina is this player here, Kayode. He was the under-19 Italian national that scored the goal in the final of the U19 Euros that Italy won. There were three players in that national team that to me seemed to be super level, the stars of the future. One of them was Kayode. The other one was a Monza player called Vignato. And then the other one is a Juventus Serie C, the Serie C team player called Luis Haza. So Kayode is part of that trio. Very interesting player. If I was Milan and I'm looking to see who's going to be the next one of the next best right backs in Europe, I think Kayode is going to be one of these guys in a few years. So I would go for Kayode. I would try and get Kayode. I think whoever gets Kayode is going to do really good business, and they're going to have a very good right back. Either Inter, Juventus, Milan, one of these three teams is going to try and get Kayode eventually. But Bonaventura having a great season. Duncan Arthur, very good balance there. Sotil having a very good season. Beltran, that's one of their weaknesses. Beltran is not really producing. Ekwame, a player that knows the Serie A. They have a strong bench. Vanucci, Milenkovic, Comuzzo, Mina, Parisi, Pierozzi, Mandragora. So Milenkovic, Parisi, Mandragora, Maximin Lopez, Amatucci, Infantino, Barak. They do have a strong bench, but obviously, if you compare the Roma bench to the Fiorentina bench, the Roma roster to the Fiorentina roster, you have to give it to Roma. I think right now both teams are doing well. Both teams are healthy. Both teams are fit. This probably a tie, I would say. Most likely a tie, but if it's not a tie, maybe Roma. Another very interesting thing about Roma is that they've been scoring goals the team that scores the most goals in Europe the last 15 minutes of a game. So I'm going to go with Roma. I think Roma is going to win this game 1-0 at the Olimpico. All right. Empoli Lecce. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about Empoli Lecce. Nobody on this planet gives a shit. Empoli, right here, what is that? 15th, just above relegation zone, 1 point away from relegation zone. Lecce, some interesting players. We do have some interesting players, Lecce. Let's look at these players. Okay, Cancellieri is an interesting player from Empoli. He's one of the players that is part of the U21 national team. Caputo is Paul's favorite player. Cambiaghi, another interesting player from the U21, good player. I think he belongs to Inter. And the rest, I don't know. I don't know the rest. Banda, interesting player, very good player on Lecce. Sansone, yeah. Baschirotto. Look, hey, it's Caputo and Baschirotto. These are Paul's favorite players. They're facing each other. Another game, I don't give a shit about this game, but let's say this game here is obviously a relegation zone game. I say this can be Empoli needs points. Empoli really needs points. But wait, where is Maldini? Maldini is here. Strafezza on the bench. I'm going to say Empoli. Empoli 3-1. Empoli 3-1. Okay, then Cagliari Sassuolo. Another team similar to Udinese that I have no idea why this team exists is called Sassuolo. Another team that only switches on when they play against the big teams. They have 15 points this season. They sell their players every year. Like, what is the point of Sassuolo? Why does Sassuolo exist? Just to fuck with Milan. That's why they exist. Castillejo. I saw a little bit of Castillejo. He looked decent. I mean, because Sassuolo has good players. Like, I would take Llorente. I would take Pinamonti. Like, they have some decent players. Berardi, guys. Okay, listen, guys. Berardi got, he got a yellow card. Okay. Berardi got a yellow card. So there was something very suspicious about the way Berardi got the yellow card. I saw Sassuolo's last game. I think it was, who was it? I can't remember. I can't remember who Sassuolo played last. But I saw the last game. And Sassuolo, it was against Roma. It was Sassuolo-Roma. And Berardi, somewhere around the second half, committed a foul, which was so obvious it was an intentional foul to get a yellow card. It was so obvious that he committed a foul out of nowhere specifically to get a yellow card. So either it's because of betting or because there's a game that he doesn't want to miss after Cagliari. And let's find out what that game might be. Because there was no fucking doubt in my mind that Berardi ate that yellow card. He wanted the yellow card because he committed a foul that he did not commit, didn't need to commit. Udinese Sassuolo. So he doesn't want to miss Udinese, and I know Milan is coming up. So maybe he just wanted to reset. Maybe he just wanted to reset the yellow cards. I don't know. Or it's betting, or it's something to do with betting, guys. I have no fucking clue. But if you look at the moment where Berardi got the yellow card against Roma, it's like, okay, that shit was suspicious as fuck. Something is going on there. Something is going on. Either you're doing bets or you're calculating something. Okay, guys. Cagliari Sassuolo. Lovumbo, by the way, a player that if I was Milan, I would look at. Absolutely, 100%. Very, very talented player. He played very well against us. Really good player. Oristanio, another very good player. also part of the U21 or U20 system or U19. Scaffè, old Milan player. So Cagliari, 10 points, probably going to get relegated. I think whoever gets Luvumbu is going to do good business. I think Oristano is another Inter player. Prati, another interesting player, is doing really well with the national teams. So watch out for Prati. Very interesting players here that could go to big teams and then do big jumps in quality. Okay, now let's finish with the most important game. Atalanta Milan. Ragazzi, how long did it fucking take to get to Atalanta Milan? Jesus. Jeez Louise. Where is the Febreze? All right. Instead of shots on target, I think the most important stat in football is XG nowadays. If you want to look at one stat in one game, XG would be the best. I'm not a big fan of the XG stat because I think it's an interpretation stat. And interpretation stats are dangerous because it depends who's interpreting that stat. So I'm not a big fan of the XG stat. It's too interpretive. There's too much interpretation in the XG stat. But there is definitely value in adding the XG to the amount of shots that are taken. It's. I mean, I think they go together, but just using XG, I wouldn't do that because I think XG is too interpretive. All right, Atalanta Milan. Let's get straight into it. Right away, both these teams have a crisis going on in defense. So let's start with that. Players not available for Milan are Kalulu, Kjaer, Caldara, Pellegrino, Leao, Okafor, Ciao. Fuck, look at this. Kalulu, 3 months. Kjaer, we don't know. Caldara, 2 months. Pellegrino, 2 months. Ciao, 2 months. So this defensive crisis is going to go on for months, guys. Kalulu, 3 months. Ciao, 2 months. Pellegrino, 2 months. Caldara, 2 months. So Kjaer is the only one that can come back soon, and that's it. There's nobody else. Kjaer, and then we go straight to the Primavera players. So we are in a defensive crisis, not now, but now and for the next few months. Obviously, the winter market, they'll have to do something. So, which means that Theo Hernandez will play centrally. In the bench, we'll have Simic and Bartesaghi. So 2 Primavera players that can play defense. Krunic, obviously, also. For some reason, Pioli thinks that Krunic can play defense. Florenzi on the left. I mean, it's a strong defense for me, this one, if I look at it. If I look at the quality of the players and the level of the players. It's 4 strong players. So it's, as a starting 11, it's good. I don't have an issue with it. I think it's actually quite solid, to be honest with you. It really comes down to what happens in the long run. What happens when you got to do the subs, and what happens if you got to sub someone here and there. I think that's the major question. Midfield, Reindeers Musa. That's the double pivot. And then Loftus-Cheek as the number 10. We pretty much have reverted back to pretty much the way we played when we won the Scudetto, with 3 midfielders, no real cam. And then we had, actually, we played with, when we won the Scudetto, we had even on the right, sometimes we would have a defensive player, a more defensive player. But essentially, it is a 4-2-3-1, no Leao. So Pulisic on the left, Loftus-Cheek as a cam, Chukwueze on the right. The attacks are going to come mostly from Chukwueze and Pulisic. Giroud back after 2 games. Starting 11, pretty strong. as we know, um, our midfield is not a super solid midfield. Atalanta is a team that has qualities, so Atalanta will definitely create opportunities and they will definitely penetrate through our press easily. That is an issue that comes with the summer market. It's not going to go anywhere. That issue is going to keep on being there until it gets addressed with players. So Milan is going to be vulnerable for sure. Um, but one thing to keep in mind is that Atalanta also has a crisis in defense. They're missing a lot of players. Atalanta really poor form, losing a lot of games. They lost a lot of points. Right now is a good time to take Atalanta on because it's a wounded animal. So you can kill them off right now. You can kill them off right now if you allow them to get back into it. I mean, then whatever. So they're missing Torres, Scamacca, Palomino, Toloi, Zappacosta, Jim City. So Palomino, Toloi, Zappacosta, Jim City, all these are defensive players. They're going to be playing with Hatabor, who does not usually play that position. Colasinac, who I don't think plays that position either. And Scalvini. So the defense is kind of a makeshift defense, similar to what we're doing. They're missing maybe their main man, Scamacca. We're missing our main man, Leao. Koopmeiners, Lookman, Muriel. That's a lot of quality there, so we got to watch out, especially here in the middle. Musa, we need a big game from Musa here to cover for Reindeers. So very important for Musa to have a big game. Muriel dangerous. Darun, these guys are going to run. Ruggeri, very good asset for the national team too as well, Ruggeri. Okay, so I see Milan with an advantage here because of where Atalanta is. I think right now is the moment to kill Atalanta off. You can create a really big cushion with Atalanta and just push him down the line, down the table. Because if they lose, Bologna wins, Roma or Fiorentina wins, the cushion starts to become a big, and that's a big psychological blow for Atalanta. So this can be a really maybe one of the first, maybe the second nail in the coffin for Atalanta. If they lose this game and then they lose another game against one of the teams above them, they might be completely out of that top four, and they might even struggle for Europe. It's still early, I know, it's still early, but this one can be. This is the opportunity to take him out, to checkmate Atalanta right now. At least checkmate them until the beginning of the next half. Milan is in a good standing to do that. We have a strong team. Midfield, Krunic, Benacer, Pobega, Ali. So what's coming in from the midfield is strong, is good. From the bench. Attack, not very strong. Romero, Jovic. Let's see. Jovic got a goal and an assist last game. I think we have an advantage here. Now, of course, Atalanta has De Ketelaere. Watch out for De Ketelaere. If he comes on and scores and gets a winning goal, oh my Lord, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. If Musa gets a yellow card, he gets disqualified. But anyway, balanced game. I'm going to give edge to Milan. I say Milan wins it 2-1. 2-1. Atalanta Milan. 2-1 for Milan. All right, and that's it for the Serie A review. That's it. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. Game day 15 is top level. Absolutely top level. Serie A right now is top level. Looking forward to the games starting tomorrow. All right, guys. Till the next one, we'll see you for the watch along on on Saturday. We're definitely doing a watch along. If we're not doing a watch along, we're definitely doing a post match. So till then, peace out, Forza Milan, ciao.